It's week 3, players. Welcome back to mobility. This week is totally awesome feet. It's time to talk to these tootsies because, well, they're propelling you forward or backward or sideways all the time. So let's give them a little bit of love and some new mobility. Your check-in is a little walk. So just take a walk around your space and feel the footfall. Feel the heel to toe and approximately where you feel like your body weight is landing on your toes and feet, how you're rolling through them. And then stand still with your feet underneath your lungs, your skull over your rib cage, and your rib cage over your pelvis. You want to create enough tension throughout the whole body that you can really imprint your stand position. Then I'd like you to turn on the hip external rotators by attempting to twist your legs away from each other. So you turn on the outer hip muscles. And when you do that, you'll notice that it actually lifts your inner arch up. So I'll show you by stepping forward here. When I externally rotate, you can see that it actually builds an arch in my foot. And then if I internally rotate it, collapse it. So I want you to overdo that external rotation so you really get a high arch on both feet. And then here's the trick. Keep all 4 of the small toes down and lift just the big toe up while you're doing this. So this is the extensor hallucis that we're talking to right now while it's in this sort of awkward tensioned position. And that's it, that's your check-in. All right, you'll need 1 yoga tune-up ball. You can also use the Therapy Ball Plus for this. If you don't have this, you can always use a tennis ball, but the grippy rubber ball is much more effective for what we're about to do. Start off by placing the therapy ball on your heel. And this is just called heel shear. I've got my hand on a stool here for stability. I suggest you're next to a wall or a stool yourself so that you don't fall. You want to try to grind or create a high pressure sensation that makes it feel like the ball is crossing the thickness of your heel fascia, the skins on your heel. This is a very, very compact, deep fascia area in your heel, and I just want to try to mobilize the bone underneath it. Then move forward and come into the highest part of your arch and drop your heel to the ground, and then in slow motion track your foot across the ball. And as you track your foot back and forth across the ball, the therapy ball is going to be stuck to the skin of the sole of your foot and hopefully creating motion in the very famous plantar fascia of the bottom of your foot. The plantar fascia is a thickened connective tissue webbing at the bottom of your foot that's also contiguous with the Achilles tendon. It's contiguous with all of the fascial tissues on the backside of your body. So this is very beneficial if you like to run or if you're doing a lot of hiking right now during the challenge. Right, so be still and now take the other foot and place it on top. There's all the more reason to be next to a stool or a wall now. What I want you to do is to let the right foot just be totally docile, and the left foot is moving the skin around on the top of your foot. So the soft tissues on the top of your foot go often very neglected, and you might be feeling a lot of pinching and burning now. You don't want to try to make this hurt. In fact, none of this has to hurt to work, but this is to awaken some of the proprioception in the soft tissues on the top of your foot, which can be very, very lonely. They're always just covered with laces or stiff leather. All right, then come off of that and come to the next arch of your foot, which is called the transverse arch. That's where all of the metatarsal phalangeal joints are. And do a slow motion roll from side to side there, trying to induce some spreading in between the bones of the foot. You can also just let the foot be completely passive here as well and continue with your dorsifascia mobilization if you like, because that feels amazing to me as well. The next move is called toe on the go. For toe on the go, we are going to revisit a range of motion in the big toe that should be natural to the foot, but often gets lost because we wear shoes, we walk on concrete. So the big toe is positioned at close to 70 or 80 degrees here. If your toe doesn't like this position, then what you can do is put a little bit of padding underneath here, and that will reduce the angle. But ideally, that first metatarsal phalangeal joint is on the ground. For toe on the go, you'll step your other foot forward, so now you don't need the wall necessarily, and you'll just lift and lower the heel. to try to express a little bit more mobility in that big toe. The big toe helps propel the foot forward. It's the end of the foot, and it should be working each time that flexor hallucis to help initiate push off or toe off. And then for one extra credit, just push the big toe into the ball, push it into the ball. The next move I call the 3 twins. So the 3 twins are the 3 middle toes. So somehow adjust so that the big toe and the pinky toe are on the ground and that your 3 middle toes are getting stretched. And so for this, similarly, you can lift and lower the heel, and that will help to stretch the 3 twins in the middle of your foot. And then pick up the ball with your foot. Nobody gets to go on until we do this. I got it. All right, so let's go to the other side. You'll probably already feel changes in the foot that you just rolled. It might feel wider, it might feel more spacious, it might feel more fluid, it might feel like it has more contact with the floor. So we go back to our heel shear, or our little crushing of this little pliable rubber ball, and try to mobilize the thicker fascias of the heel. Step 2 is the arch of the foot, or rather transitioning between the lateral and the medial arch. So between the navicular bone and the cuboid, and all of the metatarsal and tarsal bones are being massaged here. This just feels so good. And you might feel a difference from one side to the other. By the way, the slower you go with this, the better in terms of creating motion in and amongst the fluid environment here. If you go really fast, some of the fluids are actually slow moving fluids, and they need a slow input in order to be stirred up. Then take your other foot, and similarly, you're trying to create a shear. It's like taking off your skin pantyhose, sliding around. Use the grip and the stick on the bottom of your right foot to create this motion. You might hear little crackles and pops. You might hear movement at joints in the foot that you may not have known were there. You have an abundance of joints in the whole foot, and often we don't take advantage of all of its mobility. All right, side to side now on the transverse arch. So this is our last little cross across before we isolate the toes. And as I mentioned, on the other side, you can also just have a still moment and lock the foot on top. The feet are loaded with nerves. There's something like 200 to 300,000 sensory neurons that terminate here in your feet. Just think of all the sensitivity that we lose by not really using our feet for contact the way we use our hands. So this is a way to stimulate the contact force in the feet, and that's going to just help you have a better communication from top to bottom and bottom to top. So there's the big toe on the go. Step forward and do a little bit of a rocking motion of lifting your heel up and down and talking to that joint. Now you want to try to do this while keeping that first metatarsal on the ground. And if it's too much, you can put something underneath it, or just don't have the toe as high up on the ball. And then go ahead and grip into the ball just a couple of times. It's like giving a thumbs up, a thumbs down. I don't know. Remember the thumb fights you guys used to do as a kid? Teaching my daughter that right now. And then the 3 twins, those 3 middle toes that are often just left for dead, right? It's like the big toe and the pinky toe get all the glamour, and then those 3 toes they really are like conjoined triplets because of the common extensors and flexors that they share. Although they share that along with the pinky toe. And then try to pick that ball up. Ooh, there's some dexterity in there. That's fun. And then release the Yogatuna ball from your foot. Take another walk. Feel the contact of your feet on the floor. Feel the amount of space they take up in the world now. That's a good thing. You want them wider. You don't want them all confined to little tiny miniature shoes. And then externally rotate and lift those big toes. Find out if that communication signal is stronger than it was before. And release. Totally awesome. I'll see y'all next week.